Turning old pallets into planters. You saw it here first. Let's build them. So I built this around 5+ years ago, and it's in the background of another video I did, and I keep getting asked, how'd you build that, how'd you build that? So I'm going to show you how I built this, and talk a little bit about how well it held up and everything else. I did not put a liner in it. It's just straight wood. This has been sitting, there hasn't been a plant in there. The plant finally died. So this has been sitting outside all winter. Snow, rain, everything else has just been sitting in it. The wood's been wet, and it really hasn't rotted out. I did originally put a bottom on it. You can see there's two lines here. This original bottom was actually a bunch of these slats, and it did eventually, one of the slats kind of rotted out between, so had a plant in it. So I just put a thicker 3/4 inch piece of pallet, 2 pieces. You can see just 2 pieces, just slapped those on and nailed it around, and I was done. But let's start building it. This particular size, I guess we should say how big that is roughly, it's about the same size as a 5-gallon bucket. It's about 1 foot across, and the height is roughly, was originally about 14 inches or so. So this is pallet wood. It is rustic. It was designed to be rustic. I wanted it to look rustic. So consequently, not everything is even the same dimension. Some of these are 3 1/4 inches, and some of them are actually about 3 1/2 inches. You can see the difference between those two, and it really doesn't matter for this project. It's not that crucial. First thing we're going to do is we've got all of our slats, and we need them to taper. To be able to get a pot that leans out, it needs to be skinnier down here than it is up here. Doesn't really matter if one pallet slat is wider than the other. So what we're going to do is cut about roughly about 1/4 inch off the bottom of each side. So 1/4 inch, up to nothing, and to cut an angle on them. To figure out your angle, it's actually not too complicated, but also it's not that crucial, because you'll notice, because the inside of the pot is always wet, they will always swell from the inside and cup outwards. These were all flat when I originally put them in there. They were flat, and the angles were virtually perfect. You can see if we take these two right here, now they don't fit because this is cupped outwards, and it changes the angles a little bit. So, but 11 slats, there's 11 joints, 360 degrees. 360 divided by 11 is roughly 32 degrees. Is each set of joints is 32 degrees, and so each board needs to take half of that. So each one of my boards is roughly 16 and a half, because it's 33 degrees, but 16. So if you had 20, if you were doing a huge thing, if you had 20, you do 360 divided by 20 equals 18 degrees. Split that in half, so each one, so it's 9 degrees on each side. The original one I did, I actually used this Makita hand planer, and I just eyeballed and did everything by hand. But I know virtually nobody has a electric hand planer in their shop, and it was a lot of work doing it by hand, holding it. So I thought we should be able to do this with just a skill saw. I got this tilted out to about 17 degrees, and so what I'm going to do is I've just nailed it down to the top up here. So the board is actually fastened there just to hold it, and I only need about 14 inches, so that right there is scrap on the top of all of them. So I don't even need that. So I'm going to go from here to here, cutting off 1/4 inch here and nothing there. And with my angle set the way it is, I'm coming in this side. This is my face on every single one. So I'm just going to go in by hand and buzz them out. So I got one side done, but now we need to come from the other side because the way the saw's set up. So now we need to go out to nothing. So we'll just flip it around, clamp it down, and take 2. So now that the angles are cut, I got the extra length here with the nails in it that I used to attach that board. I can just cut that right off. The piece is all trimmed out, but now we need to cut a groove to hold this wire. So the wire, so it doesn't slip down, needs to fall in a groove, and because this is not actually round and square, the wire really only needs to come into each corner. So we need to take all of these and mark on the same panel and actually just kind of cut a matching groove between them. Just right on the corner. It doesn't need to be all the way across. Just right on the groove corner with like a handsaw or something else. And I will just give a groove just right on the edge. Just like that for the wire to actually fall into. Now we start assembly. So we take a 5-gallon bucket because it's roughly the same size. And skinny side up, this is going to be the bottom of our planter. And we just start setting them in. We have them all there. Slid them onto the top. Let's throw another bungee cord on here towards the bottom to help suck in the bottom for the taper. And let's flip it, and hopefully, once you're pulling it off, it'll start forming itself into a planter pot. There we go. Now we can just line everything up a little bit better. Need to get some more tension and everything will just pull right in and hold itself together. We're going to use baling wire or rebar tie wire. You can find it at your Home Depot or whatever over by the cement products, by the rebar. Use it in cement forming to band rebar together. And I'm going to double up because one is not enough. One row will break. And for this, I'm going to use a wire binding tool that I made just for this sort of thing. And what it does is it puts a far more force than you can do by hand, but you could still do this by hand. This tool just really sucks it in. So we'll get this lined up. Snug it up, and I clamp it off. And with one layer on, everything can come off. It's nice and stable. Now we can line up the bottom and do another wire around that bottom groove. So now it's time for the bottom. We can get super technical and dado a dado out of there, make a perfect disc and glue it all together and slide in there like a whiskey barrel, but that's a little more complicated than it needs to be. So we're just going to take a board, and there's going to be two, and we'll just set it on there and cut it out. So I'll set it on here, reach underneath, trace it. And that's what I need to cut out real fast. Got a pair of them put together. And like I said on my very first one, the bottom actually rotted out after about 2 years. And I think the reason why, because none of the rest has rotted out anywhere in there when I took it apart and stuff like that. I think because the bottom sat on cement and didn't have a chance to breathe. So I'm actually going to put three little feet on there, and that'll allow this exterior wood to dry as well. I'm not going to put any holes in it because there's plenty of just cracks and stuff all the way around that the water can drain out of. Put dirt directly in there, but I do have these that I got. I think I picked these up from, I think they were throwing them away behind Costco or something like that forever ago. And these will actually, if I want to, I can actually put these down inside these planters, but I think I'm just going to do just straight in dirt again like I've done with this one forever. And it'll age up nice. All this, just after a couple months, this fresh cut wood will start turning this gray and age nicely. So put some feet on and we're done. There we go, couple planters. I do have a video on how to make this wire binding tool. I'll put a link after this. If you want to know how to disassemble pallets, these ones were easy because I didn't need full lengths. If you want to know how to disassemble entire lengths of pallet wood without getting splits and crack, I also have a video on that. So thanks for watching, guys. See you guys soon. Guess I gotta go find a plant to put in them now.